of Netflix, where your fearless co-hosts Isaac and Larry force each other to watch the worst pieces of shit on Netflix. We will go over every bad edit, all the broken dialogue, all the wooden acting, and laugh along the way, because this is the Bowels of Netflix! Alright, welcome to the Bowels of Netflix. I'm Isaac, and with me as always is my fearless, 30 and flirty co-host, Larry. How are you doing this week, Larry?
Old. How are you doing this week? You just turned, what, 40, I think?
I'm pushing 40. Yeah, I'm finally pushing 40.
You turned 32, right?
Yeah, we're getting there. It's creeping.
Fucking birthdays are right next to each other. Basically, they're 4 days apart. They might as well be right next to each other.
Yeah, no, I remember fondly, just before I turned 2, I was chomping on a cigar in the maternity ward, watching Larry squeeze out of that mother of his.
Thank you for ending that with mother of his, and not any of the other ways that could have gone.
I decided to play nice.
How kind of you. Must be a New Year's Eve gift. Because it's fucking New Year's Eve on the day we're recording this.
It is. 2020, goodbye.
This is going to be the last thing I do in 2020, so by that measure, if it's shit, you can't blame me. It's the year.
It's early enough that you're going to crank one out.
Coming
in 2020 still.
It's true. It's not like we're doing this at 10 p.m.
No.
The fucking live from the Noodle Factory, the last podcast, the last bowels of fucking 2020 for us. I mean, for you, it's already next year, and I assume the Hornets have come back.
You also might have heard the news of our tragic deaths.
It's true.
It's a possibility.
The ball is fun fact. This year, the ball is dropping onto me. I couldn't get that lucky, could I?
You could probably get yourself murdered by some mummers in Philly. They're very cranky this year. Their parade got canceled.
What are they?
Drunk people who like to dress up, hopefully not in blackface, and dance around. And some of them are pretty good musicians.
Is there do they have a club? I've always wondered this. Do the mummers have a club?
They're brigades.
I'm sorry,
so,
what?
It's a mummers brigade. Is basically an individual club. And they have silly names or whatever. And then there's the fancies and the comedy ones, and there's different kinds.
This may come as a shock to you, but I hate this. The more you talk about it, the more I hate it. I'm adding it to the list.
Drunk, stupid Philly people being drunk and stupid, but they also wear costumes for no good reason. I went there last year and took pictures. It was wonderful. It was amazing. I'm disappointed that can't happen this year, but 2022, we'll get there.
Great. Oh, boy, can't wait.
God.
Can't wait.
We are the Bowels of Netflix, two old friends who hate each other dearly. Every week, one of us makes the other one watch the worst movie we can find on Netflix. Find us on Twitter, find us on Facebook, send us an email, bowelsofnetflix@gmail.com. Rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends and your family to fucking listen to the show. You're not going to talk to them anymore. Hold them hostage.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing with my friends and family. It is hard to hide 16 people in a very small basement.
You don't even have a basement.
You're right. So what basement are they hidden in? It's the question you should be asking.
Do you have floorboards you can put bodies under?
No, that's where the laundry room is.
Oh.
You think I live in a place with floorboards? This floor is going to collapse underneath me one day, and like we were talking about before, I hope it's live on the show. I hope my death happens live. That's going to be podcast dynamite.
It's the way to the top, baby. For me, not for you. So, what movie did you have to deal with this week, Larry?
Well, first of all, it's Thursday. You know what that means. Second of all, the Happytime Murders. It's the Happytime Murders, Isaac.
Yeah,
it's the fucking Happytime Murders.
I'm really excited for this one.
You shouldn't be.
Did the movie make you happy?
No, Isaac. Nothing makes me happy. I mean, come on now. Don't be an idiot. It did not make me happy at all. That was not its intention.
I assume it made you angry.
It gave me indigestion. Didn't even
that's called being in your 30s.
It didn't even make me angry. It irritated me, but it really irritated me. I don't think I was, I've had some reasonable moments of lashes of intense rage on this show. I would say they're very reasonable, all of them. But this one more just irritated me to no end.
Now, is it like the kind of irritation where you didn't give it the old college try when you were wiping, and then it's an hour later, and things just aren't right down there?
Yeah, it's like worse than that, yeah. That, but worse.
I don't like that. That's pretty torturous.
God,
I'll root around in there and fix it.
Right, root around the root cellar. So I'm gonna keep calling my apartment the Noodle Factory until I'm dead. But you gotta call your asshole the root cellar. The wife went down to the root cellar to get a couple rutabagas, if you know what I mean.
Oh, God.
It's my shit.
Oh, I thought you meant hemorrhoids.
Oh, that's even... I don't know which one's worse. This is terrible. This is terrible.
The old man corner.
This is terrible. The Happytime Murders, 2018. Fucking... I believe it was in theaters. I guess. It does have a box office. God. Rotten Tomatoes. Well, no, let's start with IMDb. IMDb has it at a 5.4, so right in the middle. That's about average, which we'll get to that later. It has a budget. The estimated budget of this movie was $40 million.
That's a price tag.
Would you like to guess the cumulative worldwide gross?
I think I saw this when I was looking it up. It lost a lot of money, right?
The cumulative worldwide gross is $27.5 million.
Ooh. Oof.
Which is... So this movie lost $12.5 million. It's a lot of money.
God.
And boy, was it not worth a single dollar that was spent on it. Rotten Tomatoes, we have the tomato meter critically reviewed at 24%, which I think is probably accurate, and an audience score of 40%, which is terribly inaccurate and should be much lower. But as we've talked about before, people are stupid.
Yeah, that's fairly low for audience score.
And now to get into my new favorite thing that I've found is just, and this is where, to balance out why the audience score is so high, I just want to read through a couple random Google reviews of the Happytime Murders. A gentleman named a person named Jen Barry. 5 stars. I loved this movie. It's as if Meet the Feebles and Law & Order had a love child. And then they continue to write other stuff, but I don't need to go beyond that line. Roberto Schaefer, 2 years ago. I thought it was hilarious. So what if it's juvenile? Grow up, people, and stop acting like a 20-year-old that wants to act mature.
What? Oh, my God.
Don't listen to the reviews. This is Susanna Iglesias. Make your own mind up. 3 exclamation points. Absolutely brilliant. Brian Henson made this because he grew up watching hilarious puppet antics backstage with dark and adult humor. He wanted to share this with everyone and so made Happytime Murders. You've never seen Muppets behave like this, and certainly not for usual young Muppet audiences. Yes, we have. They've been doing dirty Muppet shows since the dawn of fucking time. That was Jim Henson's true passion. It just turns out that nobody wanted to buy Big Bird getting railed in the ass in 1917.
Hey,
I meant to say 17.
If I was around back then, I would have bought it.
I would love to see Big Bird.
Yeah, seriously, who wouldn't?
I'm just going to stop. I'm going to say I would love to see Big Bird. Just because no part of that can be any good. Nothing after that can be good. So this, as they say, this actually was directed by Brian Henson, the son and heir of Jim Thin Henson.
Jimmy Butterface Henson, the mob boss.
I am feeling just terrible. So there's going to be a chunk of this that's just not funny because I don't know that I've ever been funny. Yeah, no, this is...
I remember twice.
I've made it...
Twice it happened.
Probably had one good joke. Yeah, this is directed by Brian Henson, the son of Jim Henson. And this is it's the studio behind it, one of the studios behind it, because there's several, we'll get to that, is
of course,
Henson Alternative, which is the adult puppet company the Hensons have, which that's a thing. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here, so let's go into it. So it's no secret that I'm a fan of puppets, Muppets, and puppetry and or Muppetry. And before we go any further, I want to get into the distinction because the eternal question is raised of what is a puppet and what is a Muppet. And if I do this right, I can talk about that for an hour and don't have to ever mention Melissa McCarthy. So I kind of hoped to delve into a large discussion on Muppets, but the sadly, the true real difference between a puppet and a Muppet is just Jim Henson being involved. If Jim Henson or any of his ilk and brood and company made it, it's a Muppet. If I made it, it's a puppet. I cannot make a Muppet unless I get a blessing from the Henson company. You have to be a Henson for it to be. I mean, there's not like a patent on Muppets, but it's sort of like the, it's
a mob family, isn't it?
Kind of, yeah. Here's the thing. I don't think anybody else wants to break into the world of high-end puppetry. And if they do, I think they tend to go on killing sprees before they can ever realize their full potential. But is that racist? Am I racist against puppeteers?
Yes.
Okay, I suppose that's fair. I'll step back. So, yeah, despite this being a Brian Henson production, for the sake of the good name of Kermit the Frog and his pals, I am not going to refer to the Happytime Murder puppets as Muppets, even though technically they are Muppets.
Stop whitewashing history, Larry.
No, because here's why. Because they're lowercase m Muppets, but I'm not calling them Muppets out of respect for uppercase M Kermit the Frog Muppets. Also,
you really like the Muppets?
What's that?
You really like the Muppets?
Do you not like the Muppets?
I just don't give a fuck about the Muppets.
Were you chained in a fucking basement for your entirety of your youth? Did any human being show you any affection in your life?
Miss Piggy's desperate need to fuck always just made me uncomfortable because it felt like I was looking in a mirror. This is a fat little boy who wanted to fuck.
All of the Muppets except for Fozzie are great. And I'll not hear them fucking maligned in this podcast. You can talk all the shit you want on Fozzie, because Fozzie can suck a dick. Fozzie is never funny.
The Muppets are just there. They're just there. This is an outrage. No, okay. I mean, like, I love the Muppets, but I fucking don't know the history, and I haven't seen any Muppet shows in quite a while. But I do have a lot of fond memories of growing up. The poster behind you on the wall says differently, Larry.
I don't have a joke for that, and I tried really hard to think of one. Shut up, nerd.
Yeah, I'm the nerd. Okay. All right, you Muppet lover. Let's go.
Well, okay, also, I need to pause. Disney owns the Muppets, capital M now, so technically we owe Disney $400 per unlicensed utterance of the word Muppet. So from here on out, we got to stop. And
can we just, like, put an apostrophe in front of it and call them the Uppets?
That's the English branch of the Muppets.
All right, Governor, how you doing? You watch the Uppets today?
You what is that bloody Uppet? So
right, your Uppet's covered in blood. What happened? I got in a fight on the tube.
What would the Australian Muppets sound like, Isaac?
Down to the Macca's, I get hard. Their little boys sit on my lap, share French fries. I still got it.
Like an old glove. But yeah, so considering these fucking second-rate puppets, often reused, we'll get into that. If you catch me calling them Muppets at any point, I want you to remind me that I'm going to die alone and friendless, because that's the one thing that'll bring me back to reality.
Okay.
All right. So we get like 4 production houses before this piece of shit movie, including a Chinese company, which makes me curious about your money laundering scheme. The whole idea that that's a real thing.
That's serious. Movies and art. That is all that's happening. Is money laundering.
Art, definitely. Movies, I wasn't sure, but the more we do this show, the more I'm starting to think you might be right.
I think every 100th movie is legitimate.
It's probably more than that, but probably not much more.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I mean, yeah, because for every movie you know about, there's 1,000 movies being made in the background, and most of them are probably fucking laundry.
Yes.
So yeah, like I said, we see that one of them is the Henson Alternative, which apparently is their adult Muppet-themed studio. Looking up their work, much of it is trash and never went anywhere, got picked up, or was live puppet stage shows, which, as much as I love the Henson Muppets, I'll pass on the live puppet stage show, thank you very much. There is one show they did called Neil's Puppet Dreams, starring Neil Patrick Harris having dreams populated by puppets. And of course I watched the entire series because Neil Patrick Harris is a dreamboat in my Celebrity Man Crush. And fun fact, several of the puppets in this movie also appear in Neil's Puppet Dreams. Watch
the actual
both and see if
physical
you can-
puppets? Or
Yeah.
do they play the same characters, or is it just the same puppet?
Well, here's the thing, Isaac. If you have a fucking puppet that looks like a doctor, it's going to be a doctor in every sketch because the puppets don't have costumes.
Well, yeah, no, but like you could have different kinds of doctors. You have a good doctor, you have an inept doctor, you have a doctor who's a little too handsy with the boys.
When it's a Muppet, Isaac, or a puppet, it's basically just a voice and a bunch of felt. They don't change that much.
So my theory about Muppets being kind of trash is right?
The Muppets are great.
Yeah, okay.
Except for Fozzie. But the capital M Muppets. The rest of these puppets can go fuck themselves.
Miss Piggy's a rapist.
Is she?
I don't know if she ever got there, but if she had Kermit unconscious in a hotel room, she would Bill Cosby him fucking 7 Ways to Sunday.
I don't know. I feel like you're disparaging Miss Piggy. Are we going to get a cease and desist from the Hensons?
No, I'm just going to end up unconscious in a hotel room.
With Miss Piggy?
No, with bacon in my ass.
Oh, fucking... Yeah, anyway, no, I watched all the episodes of Neil's Puppet Dreams. They're not very good. But what was I doing?
Was Neil good at least? Come on, Neil.
No.
Oh.
They really weren't very good. Which was a pity because I love Neil Patrick Harris. He's my man. He's my guy.
He's got to pay for those highlights and the skin lotion that keeps him looking young and vital.
He does look like time has not touched him. Neither have I, to my sorrow. What was so fucking? We zoom in. This is the least funny episode we've ever had so far. Jesus. We zoom in on sweeping shots of L.A. and we zoom even more in on a puppet driving a car. Now, this would be more surprising to me under normal circumstances because it's literally a fucking puppet behind the wheel of a car, and I'm just supposed to accept that's normal. But I kind of knew what I was in for, and so, it just kind of was like, okay. I wrote the sentence, we zoom into a puppet driving a car, and I thought, there should be more gravitas to the phrase, a puppet driving a car. But I kind of knew what I was in for, so I guess, whatever. The puppet is Phil, a blue humanoid about 3 feet tall or thereabouts. Despite being about 3 feet tall or thereabouts, he drives a normal human car like he's goddamn people, which just, I don't know, it never really is explained. His dialogue immediately reveals to us that he is your average hard-boiled detective type. For those of you unfamiliar with the term, imagine Batman if Bruce Wayne was dirt poor, didn't use a fake name, didn't dress up like a bat, and drank a fucking lot. Now, Isaac, I do admit I'm a big fan of the hard-boiled detective trope, which in itself is problematic because they're all terrible characters and are pretty awful to women and, often minorities. But I like the storytelling device, and I'm a sucker for detective stories, and this sort of neo-noir idea is technically right up my alley. So I
feel the same way.
I'm coming in a little biased. Like, when they got, a detective, he's wearing a jacket, and he's smoking, and he's, doing a voiceover, calling it the City of Angels, which every movie in the world that has L.A. in it calls it the City of Angels. Try harder. Fucking, everyone's done it. It's over. But that kind of pushed my buttons a little bit. Okay, this might suck, but maybe I can get something out of this. Turns out I was wrong. And I admit I do like Phil as a character. Of the many flaws of this movie, and boy, howdy, are there many, Phil to me isn't really one of them. There's definitely some beard bias in there, though, I'm willing to admit. But I don't know. He does it enough for me. He's gruff. And I think the voice is perfect. It's the voice of just one of the Henson puppeteers. He's been around forever doing Henson puppets. Mm-hmm. So, but I think Phil works. But anyway, it doesn't. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's just, oh boy.
I was worried.
This stays good for about air quotes for about all of 2.5 minutes. So don't worry. Phil gives a typical hard-nosed detective description of L.A., that he tells us that L.A. is a melting pot of all colors and creeds, but the one thing in common is that everyone hates puppets. So the world population in this movie appears to be 65% human, 35% puppet as far as I can tell, and the basic premise of this movie is that puppets are treated the way black people are treated. And, you're not making it better just by making it puppets.
Yeah. That's also... That makes me uncomfortable as a white man.
Yes, it does. Because we see as Phil's driving along, giving his narration, we see like puppets getting patted down by the police and being treated poorly and second-class citizens, and just that's great. The puppets are fully ambulatory. They come in all shapes, sizes, species, and backgrounds, and are sentient. And as you may have guessed, I have several questions. None of these questions will ever be answered.
The movie doesn't, like, flesh out the puppet life cycle?
Absolutely not.
Can humans and puppets mate?
Yes. Do they make half human, half puppets? No.
Okay.
Believe me, I can answer any of your questions because I know the lore of this movie inside out, upside down, backwards and forwards, ass over tea kettle. But they never give me what I want, which is the exact details of how everything in the world works regarding to the puppets.
That might take a little while. Have you ever come in a puppet?
Have I?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you're missing out. Anyway.
No, too dry.
I'll use bacon grease.
That thought is making me physically ill. Think about you taking a fucking Fozzie Bear puppet, because fuck him, just in a handful of bacon. Fozzie in the left hand, just lifeless, dead Fozzie, and a right hand dripping with bacon grease, and just slapping both on your dick and rubbing them back and forth, up and down.
No. You cut a hole in the puppet, and then you line the hole with bacon. Because the inside of a vagina and raw bacon are basically the same thing. Delicious.
That's your way. That's the worst transition I've ever done.
Cooking it like 425 for 30 minutes. We'll see how it comes out.
Oh, God. All right, so apparently puppets are
What's the internal temperature you have to reach for human?
Stop it! I don't know. I know what it is for puppets, though. They do answer that question.
For puppies? Jesus Christ.
Puppets!
Oh, okay, right.
Fucking Jesus. Puppets are lesser class citizens in L.A., Isaac.
Okay.
Or maybe
we got a Rodney King scene?
What?
A Rodney King puppet scene? Is there full-on police brutality?
Kind of. Not Rodney King. No.
Okay.
Not really. There's not. The puppets are second-class citizens, but they're not really brutalized. I mean, there's a bunch of them get murdered, but that's like by a crazy murderess.
Okay.
For God's sake, this is awful. I don't know if the puppets are only in L.A. We never see beyond L.A., really. So I don't know if this is a worldwide thing. I have so many puppet questions. So many.
You don't have that many questions about the world BoJack inhabits, even though it's equally nonsensical.
They answer a lot of those questions.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
They answer some of them.
The animals and people can repopulate with each other. The animals can fuck other animals and make more animals. I get it. These are puppets. Those are living, breathing beings. These are puppets that are made of fluff and dreams of children.
Yeah,
and yet,
living, breathing beings.
Where do they come from? Where do they go?
Where do any of us come from? Where do any of us go? Cotton Eye Joe, Larry.
I hate myself so much. And I just get so angry at everything. Phil pulls up to his office and sees an elderly puppet getting harassed by some kids. Phil tells them off and punches one in the nose, scaring them off. Phil tries to tell the old puppet, quote, "Times have changed. You don't have to sing and dance for the man anymore."
Jesus.
So what does this mean? What does this mean for puppets? Are they implying the puppets were slaves? Is that it?
Maybe there were gym puppet laws in the South?
Probably. Are the puppets just black people?
Puppets versus the Board of Education. The Civil Puppets Act.
Please, don't let me stop you. Keep going. Just do this,
that's
the whole show.
Puppet History Month? Man, I don't know much more about black people. I gotta stop.
Frederick Puppet.
George Washington Puppet invented peanut butter? Fuck, I'm about done. That's all I got.
He invented puppet butter.
Yeah, that's how you fuck him.
No, you fuck it with rice pilaf, and that actually does come up. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Where the fucking hell is this review even going? Have we been going for 2 hours? Because that's what it feels like.
Yes.
So Phil says to the old man, times have changed, you don't have to sing and dance for the man anymore. The old man delightedly says he doesn't have to, he wants to perform, because that's what puppets like to do. And I'm just going to let it go, because there's just not time. Phil comes in and gives his secretary, Bubbles, a chocolate bar. Bubbles is played by Maya Rudolph from Big Mouth and The Good Place, and probably other stuff that I haven't seen.
Saturday Night Live. That's where she got her start.
Well, she, in Big Mouth, she's Connie, who is quite easily one of the best parts of that whole show. So she gets a lot of passes from me. And also, she's very talented and very funny and easily the best part of this whole movie. Phil flashes back to earlier in the day where he was beating up some puppet poachers who were poaching puppets for their feet, which apparently are guaranteed to bring good luck.
What?
Yeah, there's just a guy with a bunch of puppet feet on keychains. And then Phil comes in and hits one with a tire iron and then stomps the other one's balls.
What the fuck?
Phil's a puppet. Those were men.
Yeah. Yeah. How much are the feet worth?
I don't know. A lot.
Okay.
They're Tijuana puppet feet. I know that.
Yeah, well, high quality.
Bubbles tells Phil there's a new client, and Phil goes in to meet Sandra White, our classic noir dame who pushes the detective into the mystery at hand. She is, I suppose, gorgeous. However, she is also a puppet, so I'm not quite sure I can make that distinction. I have no interest in fucking a puppet.
Gotta get some bacon.
Sandra gives Phil a note made up of cutout letters, which is demanding $350,000 from Sandra, or they will reveal her secret. Phil asks what the secret is, to which she replies that she's a sexual Ima. Isaac, any idea what that means? And before you answer, let me stop you. It's less funny than you think.
Oh. A puppet? Sex worker?
A sexual Ima means, quote, if I'ma get next to it, I'ma gonna fuck it.
What?
Exactly.
That's... What? That's so weird.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. So Sandra's like supposed to be our sultry dame, to use the parlance of that particular genre of storytelling. And so she's very flirty with him. And anyway, he notices the letter P in the ransom note is familiar to him. Phil heads downtown to Vinny's Puppet Pleasureland.
Oh, God.
And by the way, we get a lot of quote-unquote detective narration over top the entire movie. But generally it isn't worth much, so I plan to ignore most of it. At least as far as narration over movies goes, it's fine. It fits the trope because this is it fits the type of story. You don't do a detective story like this without the narrator talking over it, you know.
There are certain movies where it does work.
Right,
yeah.
and this type of movie, it's part of the experience. So, and it's fine. Yeah. It's none of it too. It's mostly just information dumps. It fits the setting well enough. So, Vinny's Puppet Pleasureland is a porn store, but for puppets. I assume you see why this is funny.
Yes, because puppets like to jerk off.
Incorrect. It's funny because in the back of a porn store, an octopus is milking a cow on its back while the cow streaks an orgasmic ecstasy.
That sounds hot. I'm a little cranked up right now, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm sure. Vinny claims that he needs to make his own porn now that the internet is killing his business. Phil requests a copy of the magazine, and I quote, Puppet Pussy Party, where Phil recognizes the P on the magazine cover from the ransom note. Phil wants to know if Vinny keeps a record of everyone who buys Puppet Pussy Party magazines, to which Vinny says, of course, dude, I'm fully NSA compliant. Get it? Because the NSA is always watching because we live in a police state.
Yay.
On his way back to check the records, Phil bumps into an incredibly nervous rabbit who Phil recognizes as a Bumbly, whoever the fuck that is. Phil happens past... I typed this like a drunk. Phil walks past the porn theater in the back, which is showing a video of a human firefighter being whipped, beaten, and insulted by a puppet Dalmatian.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, out front, a mysterious stranger wrapped head to toe in black appears holding a shotgun. Bumbly, the anxious rabbit, says he finds this strangely arousing and starts peeing or coming. I genuinely don't know because it's purple glittery liquid coming out from under his coat.
Oh, shit.
Vinny pulls a pistol on the robber, who proceeds to blow off Vinny's head in an explosion of fluff. The octopus and cow come out to investigate and are also blown away, while Bumblebee begins laying Easter eggs. Again, not sure if aroused or terrified. Maybe both. He begs not to be murdered as he has 48 kids, but he gets his head blown off. Get it? Because he's a rabbit and they fuck a lot.
Yeah, they fuck a lot.
Yeah. Phil, who has been in the back behind the theater the entire time and thus oblivious to the crime, comes out to find the fluff bath.
I get it. I see what you did there. It's funny because they're puppets.
I'm deeply ashamed of myself and don't wish to continue doing this show or being alive. All right, so here we go. The worst part of this fucking movie, Melissa McCarthy should be put in jail for being criminally unfunny.
She has talent. I don't doubt that it's not on display here.
In fairness, this is the only thing of hers I have ever seen, and that's probably a dear mistake. And by the way, if I didn't mention it before, she won the Razzie of the Year for Worst Actress. Would you care to guess what movie she won it for?
This movie.
The Happytime Murders, correct. So it's not just me. So if you, because apparently she's won real awards for being good. I don't know what simpleton gave her them, but they should have their accreditation taken away. Because this was horrendous, and she's the least funny human trying to be funny I've seen in Bowles so far.
Damn, that's a harsh indictment.
I mean, yeah, because there's people that are less funny, but she's trying to be funny.
Yeah.
And she fails so badly. It's like trying to walk a tightrope, but you forget and go to a hill and roll down it covered in your own shit instead. So McCarthy is a detective. Phil tells us back when he used to be on the force, they were partners. Apparently Phil was a fucking cop at one point, just dropping that out of nowhere. McCarthy comes into the porn store, and immediately she and Phil begin arguing and trading barbs back and forth. It's just a bunch of puppet-based jokes. That's all it is.
And they're just arguing amidst the murder scene?
Yeah. They're just being...
What?
They're just being catty and arguing.
Oh my god.
The lieutenant of the force arrives, and it's fucking Stanley from The Office, which for some reason I found insanely bizarre and could never get over.
I did see his face once when I was flipping through this.
Yeah. He's about 30% more animated than Stanley was in this movie.
Right, yeah.
It's still pretty baseline Stanley, and I don't know, it's so weird and I couldn't get over it. I guess everybody's got to have a career now that The Office is over, but this one was hard to swallow. Also, I wish I liked The Office more, because at best it's passable.
Come on.
So anyway, Stanley, McCarthy, and Phil start going over the crime details. McCarthy wants to pawn it off. Is that how you say her name? Is it Melissa McCarthy?
I believe so, yeah.
Every time I say it out loud, it doesn't sound right, and I don't know why. McCarthy wants to pawn it off as a robbery, but Phil points out that the robbers didn't take any money, and it was meant to be a hit. Lieutenant Stanley makes Phil shuffle out the back, as Phil is still, quote, the department's dirty little puppet secret, a line I mention only because I hope to say it to a lover one day. Huh. As Phil leaves, we see on a TV that Bumblebee, the anxious rabbit who was just murdered, was part of a show called, believe it or not, the Happytime Gang, which was a 90s, sort of like, I would loosely compare it to what seems like 90s Full House.
Okay.
So puppet Full House, I guess. It's a 90s show starring a motley collection of puppets and a token human woman. We see one of the characters on the show was a blue puppet looking very much like Phil, named Officer Larry Shenanigans.
That's your name now.
You may understand that I hate this for several reasons.
Officer Larry Shenanigans.
Officer Larry Shenanigans' line is, you're under arrest for being too hot to handle. My only solace is that there's a good chance Officer Larry Shenanigans is brutally murdered in this movie, if only so that I can live vicariously through his death.
I was going to say, when we finally consummate our relationship, you have to roleplay as Officer Larry Shenanigans.
I'll paint myself blue and tell you you're under arrest for being too hot to handle.
Yes.
And then I'll put my penis inside of you.
Yes.
We see Larry and Phil are eating at a diner because apparently they're brothers. Larry has had a human nose job and had his skin bleached. Apparently, the Happytime Gang was the first television show starring puppets that was universally accepted. Larry taunts Phil about being the world's first and last puppet cop, and Phil leaves in a huff. Outside, McCarthy is at his car, and the two argue some more. Phil blames her for him not being a cop anymore, and she tells him one day he's going to slip up and catch him. Their banter sucks. It never gets better, and it's always like... It feels to me like McCarthy... And this is unfair. I grant that this is unfair for me to say, and probably not true, but the vibe I get is that she felt this was beneath her to be acting alongside a puppet. And in good fairness, it may very well be. But yeah. I don't know. That's just the vibe I got. That, like, the dialogue, their, like, back and forth was not particularly good. You know? I don't know. Something about
no
it
sexual tension? Well,
no. Thankfully, no. That's not ever between those two, which I don't think I can take that. But yeah, they're like cutesy sort of banter just never fit for me. We see back in Phil's office, our protagonist is looking through some old newspaper clippings showing his torrid history. Apparently, some incident happened some time ago that caused the world to believe puppet cops wouldn't shoot other puppets, and whatever this incident was caused the fallout between Phil and McCarthy. Bubbles tries to ask Phil out on a date, which, by the way, I don't think I mentioned this, but Bubbles is a human, and so is McCarthy. Like, Bubbles is Maya Rudolph, McCarthy is Melissa McCarthy. I gotta fucking differentiate because this movie has both. You keep doing... this is like the third time where I swear to God I've had to differentiate between what kind of being was on screen.
I like this pattern.
Yeah, I hate it. Anyway, like I said, Bubbles asks Phil out on a date, but he declines. She tries to cheer him up by telling him it's what's on the inside that counts, not if you're a crime against God and nature by being a fucking puppet. Well, I don't know what that sentence was, and I'm not going to repeat it. Is God a puppet? Did God make puppets?
Yes. We can't disprove it.
We could if I knew the history of the fucking puppets.
Larry.
Just tell me. Just tell me. Make the movie 3 hours long and explain everything to me. That's what I want.
No,
I want to suffer.
You're a madman. You are. No one wants the backstory of puppets.
I live in the noodle factory, for Christ's sake.
No one. Well, yeah, okay. Do you know how the noodles work? Do you know how to make a noodle?
No, I'm still working on it. No, I don't know how to make noodles. See? I do want to learn at some point, though.
Yeah. We can make puppets.
In a hot tub.
We make noodles in a hot tub?
Yeah, make noodles. Actually, I don't see why not. I mean, a fresh hot tub.
Yeah.
Not one that's got, jism and hair in it.
Yeah, that's for the after party.
If we ever make... If we ever make a Simon and Garfunkel-esque duo, can our name be Jism and Hair?
Yes, I have the hair for it. And you,
I was going to say, I think you have to be hair, which
it?
Makes me Jism. Yeah. I'm not sure. Great. I don't know if I shot myself in the foot or got the better end of the deal there.
I don't know if you can be Jism when you're so busy being Officer Larry Shenanigans, my secret lover.
Speaking of Officer Larry Shenanigans, we see him bathing with a human woman. He's showing her a video from the old Happytime days. To give you a quick rundown of the Happytime gang, we're going to meet all of them. We have token human woman, a purple puppet, that is hard to say, named Coach Phil, a weird monster puppet named Goofer, the now deceased Bumbly Pants the Rabbit, a pair of cousins who are now married and have kids, and Larry himself, the only one who leveraged success from the show. In the video, we see McCarthy and Phil as cops come in, and we see that Phil and token human woman were dating at some point. So puppets and humans can and do fuck. So there you go.
Good to know.
Speaking of, Larry's hot tub companion goes to make margaritas, while our unknown assailant from the porn shop releases...
Oh, no.
A handful of cute puppies into the house, which blessedly tear Officer Larry Shenanigans to pieces.
Jesus.
So, thank God for that. The next morning at the crime scene, Phil bursts in to mourn his brother and happens to overhear McCarthy making a snide comment about the killing, leading him to tackle her into the hot tub. They fight, and during the fight, he bites her on the tit, and during the fight, she bites him on the dick.
Yeah,
Lieutenant
that sounds
Stanley
about right.
is fed up with their bullshit and says they must work together.
That's
McCarthy
how that works.
Says, yes. McCarthy, well, we're going to get that explained, because of course we do. McCarthy says puppets aren't allowed to be cops, and the statute preventing this is literally called the Phillips Code, in honor of Phil's fuck-up however long ago. Stanley says that he is hiring Phil on as a consultant, and if they don't work together, he'll demote McCarthy, and he himself will bite Phil on the dick.
Why?
This movie's nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah.
So McCarthy and Phil head out to meet with the producer of the Happytime Gang, since now 2 of the Happytime Gang were murdered. I vaguely recognized the producer guy, but didn't care enough to look it up, because also he's only in the movie for about 3 minutes, so whatever.
It's Justin Bieber, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
okay,
it,
good,
of course.
Okay, good.
McCarthy and Phil don't work together well still. Eventually, miscommunications happen. They end up knocking the guy out and take the original contract for the show. Whole scene was very pointless. The long and short of the contract is that basically it boils down to being a $10 million taunting. For which those of you who don't know what a taunting is, I believe it comes from World War I want to say, is when it started to become popular, where it's like a group of people would get together and each pitch in money to a till, and then the last person alive out of that group got the money. I think they're generally illegal nowadays. Yeah,
it's hard to foresee any problems arising from some agreement like that.
You don't say.
No.
So, but anyway, it's more complicated than that, but that's the basic premise, is that if somebody in the contract die, and it's all the Happytime Gang and their spouses, if any of them die, their share of the $10 million gets split between the rest of them.
Okay.
So
they're
that's
incentivized to murder.
Right. McCarthy and Phil go out to start checking on the other members of the Happytime Gang one by one. They start with Coach Lyle, a little purple man puppet. He lives out of a Skid Row garage now, in charge of some street gang of some kind. They're playing poker. They're playing poker when our heroes enter, and everyone pulls guns on them. Coach Lyle seems relatively happy to see Phil again, but says his establishment doesn't allow humans. McCarthy reveals that she, God fucking damn it, in fact, has a puppet liver, which apparently is shocking to everyone present. So that means that puppets and humans don't share parts.
But she has a puppet liver, though.
She has a puppet liver.
See, they're explaining everything. They got it covered.
Your fucking mouth, Early. To prove it, Coach Lyle makes her snort a line of pure Colombian Isaac. What is it?
Cocaine.
No, it's fucking sugar.
Oh.
Apparently, high-grade sugar is drug to puppets. And since McCarthy has a puppet liver, she can take it safely without going into a, quote, diabetic coma.
I'm pretty sure you can snort sugar.
I got robbed of Coke, Isaac. I want to talk about Coke some more, because that's all I have now.
Oh, by the way, there's Coke in the mail for you.
Jiro dreams of sushi, Larry dreams of Coke. Her ability to get puppet high impresses everyone enough to allow her to hang out. And she gets, like, high, basically. She, just turns into a weirdo.
Right.
So Phil and Lyle go out back to talk. They lament over Larry's death, and Lyle pours one out for him. Isaac, don't pour one out for me when I'm dead. Inside, McCarthy gets offended by a big Russian dog puppet calling the lady puppets and McCarthy all bitches, and beats everyone up, pulling a gun on the dog to make him apologize. Lyle and Phil are talking out back about what happened after the show when a car pulls up and blows Lyle and his goons away.
Jesus.
Phil tries to shoot back but misses, and McCarthy is too busy snorting sugar up her fucking snoot to show up for the crime. Lieutenant Stanley shows up, and we basically reiterate every scene we've had with him so far. Blah, blah, blah. Same crap, and McCarthy is still high as a kite. Stanley tells them the married cousins live out of his jurisdiction. Nobody knows where Goofer is, but he can have a cop protect token human woman from the Happytime Gang. Apparently, Goofer was last seen near the Santa Monica Pier, where McCarthy goes to investigate while Phil heads back to his office. So I want to pause for a minute here and explain to you why this is the worst review on Bowels of Netflix we've ever had. The movie is about puppets, and that's the joke.
Sounds funny.
There's only so much joy I can fucking wring out of this script without showing you the actual puppets. There's rarely any dialogue that's very funny. The story, it's just raunchy puppets. Like, imagine telling someone the plot of Team America World Police and trying to make it sound funny.
Yeah.
It's not particularly interesting. A lot of the gags are sight gags. And now, that said, the puppetry here is stupid good. This is Henson Puppets. This is the Muppet crew of puppeteers.
So
like, these
the puppeteering's quality.
These guys do Kermit. That's fucking... You don't... This is the best puppeteers in the world. That said, beyond the novelty of it being puppets, it's just a paint-by-numbers detective story with some vulgarity thrown in. Like, it's... Me reading you the plot is meaningless without you seeing it, because the whole point is to be like, look, that puppet got shot. What do you want?
Yeah,
this is the worst. This review is the worst.
This kind of thing should be at most 10-minute SNL sketch. That's how much legs a story, like, oh, puppets and humans together, but it's raunchy. That's the maximum amount of legs that bit can have.
We're going to talk about that at the end of this, because I wrote probably my longest end section discussion ever about this. So back in the office, Sandra White returns, who is the dame who started this whole movie with Phil early on. I'm only saying dame because that's the role she fills in this particular story. Of course, that's not how I think of people. Sandra says the ransomers or whatever have sent another note and picture this time. The picture is of Sandra with token human woman from the Happytime gang. I could give you her real name, I know it, but I've decided to take a leaf out of your book, Isaac, and type out this stupid long name every time, just to walk a mile in your moccasins. And awful, if I'm lucky, fill your moccasins with spiders. So anywho, Sandra said she had a fling with token human woman from the Happytime gang because she sometimes enjoys the company of a lady. Anyway, the two flirt for a little bit before Sandra licks Phil's face with a disturbingly long tongue. I don't know why it bothered me so much, but it really did. It was really upsetting. So Phil grabs her by the waist, uses her to clear off his desk, and they start banging loudly and violently. Before you ask, we get no puppet tits.
Oh.
Outside in the lobby, Lieutenant Stanley and, bizarrely enough, FBI agent Joel McHale, here playing an FBI agent Joel McHale show up. And if you don't know, he wrote and starred in The Soup, which was some show that ran forever. And he starred in Community, a show which I really should get around to watching at some point, but can't get to it. Credit where it's due, this sex scene is probably the funniest part of the whole movie. And not really the sex parts itself. I mean, it's puppets having sex. You got what you pay for. But Bubbles outside talking with Stanley and FBI agent Joel McHale. Like, one of the lines, for example, is Stanley asking if Phil is in. And during, a particularly loud orgasm sound, Bubbles responds, well, he's in something. And, it's... Maya Rudolph is a fucking queen, and she delivers the line way better than I just did.
Yeah. Timing can save a mediocre joke if the timing's good enough. There's
a few little bits like that sound dumb, but when the extremely talented actors like these three pull it off with good timing and reactions, it's okay. I smiled at this. The timing of this whole scene with the fucking in the background, loudly and obnoxiously while they're having a conversation and their body language, it's very good. It was a good scene. I don't understand what the cast of this movie is, because it's a bunch of really talented people and then Melissa McCarthy, and that's who they fucking put their money on. That's the horse they tried to ride across the finish line.
She's popular.
I don't understand. I have to watch something else of hers. She should be in comedy jail. She should be in comedy jail with Jeff Dunham. Anyway, as the sex ends, Phil comes in a massive explosion of...
fluff?
Silly string.
Oh. God damn it.
That inherently isn't funny, except for the fact that it goes on for way, way longer than it should, which kind of rolls around to being funny.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. It's just... because he keeps stopping and thinking he's done, and then it keeps starting, and that's stupid, except when they really commit to it, and then it got funny. I don't know. That made me chuckle.
George Carlin put it really well. The standard comedy rule, the rule of threes. Things happen in threes and it's funny. Yeah. And you don't want to go over three. But his take on it is the rule of threes works and the rule of 33s works. At a certain point when you're just beating a dead horse, it rolls back around to being funny.
Exactly. This, I don't think they necessarily did it too much, but this, it hit my tipping point of okay, this got funny again. So, anyway... Stanley and McHale want to take Phil into the station to ask him some questions, but Phil jumps out the window to escape police custody, and they put an APB out on him. Phil heads over to the strip club where token human woman from the Happytime gang is erotically peeling and eating a carrot for a bunch of rabbit puppets.
Oh.
Get it? Because they're not human, so they don't just like titties and vaginas and stuff.
Yeah, but, I mean, I guess... if I saw a woman like sucking on an ear of corn, that'd be hot. But
Isaac, I don't think you get it. I just don't think. I think it's just over your head.
Yeah, maybe
so
it might be.
Phil
Wait, the rabbits?
The rabbits.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? That's okay.
I tried.
2020's almost over.
I know.
The pain is about to stop.
Yeah.
The meteor is approaching the sun. So Phil asks her about Sandra, but token human woman from the Happytime gang doesn't recall every puppet she fucks. Phil asks her why she is still out in public, considering all the Happytime gang members being openly murdered. She says she has to keep working until the money from the show comes in, and says Phil is too controlling, which is why their relationship failed. I'm telling you this because I had to sit through it twice, and I hate you for it. We cut to McCarthy, who is combing the beach for signs of Goofer. We get some unfunny tracking scenes where McCarthy figures out where Goofer might be, including the ongoing gag of everyone not recognizing at first that Melissa McCarthy is a woman, because she's fat and talks like a man. That's comedy, right? That's how comedy works.
Har.
I haven't bothered mentioning it until now, because not even just because it's not PC or anything like that, but because it's not funny, which is the real crime.
Yeah.
So McCarthy finds Goofer in the puppet equivalent of a crack den. She questions him about the Happytime Murders, but he's so conked out on sugar, he gives her, and also us, literally no useful information whatsoever. In fact, his whole bit is wanting to blow her for sugar, but of course she doesn't have a dick, which just hammer that joke into the ground.
But she's fat. She should have a dick.
Yeah, because she looks like a man. I get it.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
Okay. Yeah.
In his drug haze, Goofer mentions something about, quote-unquote, the wife. This will be important later when I'm yelling about it. Apparently, off-screen, Phil has convinced token human woman from the Happytime gang to go get a hotel somewhere safe and check in with him when she does. They're walking out to her car in an alley when token human woman from the Happytime gang gets on her knees to have a tender, touching moment with Phil, talking about their past love. You're going to laugh, but it is at this point I knew for a fact that the car she was getting in was going to explode. You may be wondering why. The answer is A, I'm the goddamn best, and it's about time that gets through your thick skulls. B, it's just so glaringly obvious that's what's going to happen, because that's what would happen in a generic detective story. See, that's another huge problem with this movie. So, I started talking about this, that I enjoy that type of story. This is the most cookie-cutter detective story ever made. If you fed a robot 5 different fucking 1940s detective novels, it would spit this out, and then you just gotta cross out people and put puppet in every other line. That's it. It takes zero risks as a story at all. None. Absolutely nothing. It relies on the puppets being quote-unquote interesting and different enough to pretend that they didn't need to do anything different beyond that. And, that's a huge fail. We'll go into that more later, but, that, oh, God, everything in this movie is so glaringly obvious. Especially now. As soon as I saw that car, I just knew.
Yeah.
It was
especially if you're going back to this kind of movie that essentially is a trope, and the whole movie is a trope, the whole storytelling is a trope, you need to do something different with it. Right. It's fine to go back to it, but...
If this was set in, 1940 or 50 or whatever, I'd be fine with it. It'd be okay, fine, you're trying to do a throwback thing. The Muppets do that kind of shit. But, they're just... It's in modern... it just doesn't work. It's so fucking... I don't know. Just drives me nuts. Anyway, so Phil and token blah 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 lady begin to rekindle their relationship a little bit, but like I said, she gets into the car. Oh no, it explodes. Who could have seen that coming except for me, because I'm fucking brilliant. Also, the windows on this car are blacked out darkly and so obviously that she's clearly still alive, and she's definitely the villain. So
okay,
there you go.
There we go.
He doesn't even get a chance to really look at the car. He has to run. So he runs from the cops to show up to check about the explosion, and he goes to hide out at McCarthy's place, which is an absolute mess of various sugar products, because apparently she's a junkie. He tidies up and falls asleep on her couch, where he recalls back to the fateful day when their partnership ended. This is 5 years ago or something. They're under an overpass. Some big, goofy monster puppet has McCarthy in a chokehold with a gun to her head, while Phil has a bead on him. Phil takes the shot, but the bullet misses the perp by a hair, and instead ricochets into a nearby puppet dad walking with his puppet daughter, killing him instantly. Killing him, even though, he's a puppet. They don't have brains. It's just, how do you get a headshot on a puppet? They don't have, it's all fluff inside.
They have souls, Larry.
They don't have souls. They're puppets.
Yes, they do. They have souls. Just like you and me, Larry. We have souls.
I don't have a soul. We know this. McCarthy manages to escape from her captor, but gets shot in the liver in the process. Phil manages to get her to a nearby puppet hospital where, as Isaac pointed out last week, Phil sticks a gun in the doctor's face and demands he save McCarthy's life, despite the doctor refusing, as he only has, quote-unquote, puppet parts.
Good God.
Yeah, that's...
Oh, so that's how she got her puppet liver.
That's how she got her puppet liver. That's
right.
What I'm working with here. So, McCarthy wakes Phil up, and they have an emotional moment, as Phil tells her token human woman from the Happytime gang is dead. While they talk, McCarthy gets a call to come down to the pier, as now Goofer has been found dead. At the pier, she briefly puts Phil into a cooler to examine the body and keep him hidden from FBI agent Joel McHale, who orders her to report to Phil if he makes contact with her, as now he's wanted for all the murders since he was at literally all of them so far. That sentence was long, run on, and I hate it, and I wish I didn't write it or say it. Speaking of the Happytime gang, as there's only 2 of them left, Phil and McCarthy head out to bumfuck nowhere, California, to visit the married cousins from the show, of whom the names hold literally no importance. McCarthy thinks because Goofer said something about a wife, they just assume that it must be the married cousins, as they're the only ones left. However, I know it was obviously token blah blah blah. I don't know. How do you keep writing those long ass names over and over and over? Why do you do that to yourself?
I am a dumb man.
I got so tired of writing token human woman from the Happytime gang. I just changed to token blah blah blah. Which still is too long.
Sometimes I shorten it, but yeah. I also don't learn from my mistakes, so there's that.
My favorite still is from Last Days of American Crime, long-haired hacker guy, Kevin guy. So on the drive to bumfuck, Phil and McCarthy reconcile their friendship. McCarthy tells him she is struggling in a world where she's a human with a puppet part, and has developed puppet drug addiction because of it. Phil apologizes for everything he's put her through and for missing that day, and they're friends again, sort of. On the radio, a sappy song comes on, and they argue about it because Phil says it, quote, sounds like a tampon commercial in there, and it's attached to McCarthy's phone. So while Phil is bitching about it, McCarthy's fumbling with her phone. She eventually pulls out a gun and shoots out her radio, because I suppose that's comedy.
Yay!
There's like 40 minutes left of this movie.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So the 2 of them get to the cousins' compound and suit up for battle, as they assume the cousins' spouses will be strapped, because they're pretty sure they're the ones who committed the crime. The place is called, and I have to give credit, this is a great joke, Adam's Rib Barbecue and Worship Center.
Okay.
It's a phenomenal joke. And it reminds me of my Noah's Ark smorgasbord joke from many episodes ago. There's a constant keening scream coming from the compound, which is just like a big-ass double-wide trailer, basically, which turns out to be 2 inbred children with messed up eyes and whatnot, because, the cousins made babies. You're not supposed to do that. As the pair creeps up on the bed, they throw back the covers to find the married cousins have been beheaded, and that's why their names don't matter, because they literally are never in this movie alive.
No. But what about the horrible mutant baby?
They just leave. It's just there.
God.
There's 2 of them. One of them has 3 eyes, one of them has 1 eye, and they just leave.
Jesus. Also, you can fuck your first cousin and have babies. You just can't do it for multiple generations.
Okay.
Yeah.
You sure can't.
No, you can.
I meant in multiple generations. Yep. I have nothing to say to this. I don't.
Okay.
What do you want from me?
I'm just. I did the research, just in case.
You got a hot cousin or something? This is not good. This is
maybe.
Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Don't even answer it. I wish I hadn't asked it. Phil gets pushed over by the real murderer, who runs off, and we see by the gate that the murderer too is a puppet. And at this point, I figured out who it is. But it's not so much genius as it is process of elimination, because there's literally only 2 named puppets alive and left in the entire movie. And one of them is Phil. So it's kind of an easy pick, because it's not just going to be some random Yahoo, because literally every other named puppet is dead. So it's a real easy choice of who it's going to be. As Phil runs out of the compound after the murderer, he instead runs into FBI agent Joel McHale and his FBI goons. They bring him in and take him for questioning. While there, they tell him they have a witness who will put Phil away for the murders, and it turns out it's... Isaac?
The lady token lady?
No, she's dead.
She's not really dead, though.
it's a puppet. It's Sandra White, the puppet lady from the beginning that Phil fucked that one time.
Oh, see, I forgot the other puppet. See, the thing about this movie is it makes no sense and it's stupid.
Yeah. Oh, doesn't it? You don't say. So yeah, turns out she was married to token human woman from the Happytime gang, a fact which Phil and McCarthy just kind of gloss over in one throwaway line. Now, despite the fact that Phil was with token human woman in her last moments, and they started to rekindle a relationship, and the fact that she clearly lied when she said she didn't know who Sandra White was when Phil showed her the picture of them together, Phil at no point ever says anything about the fact they were married other than like, oh, that's weird. Like, you're a fucking detective, you dunce! Are you serious? Like, he's a seasoned detective and doesn't even give it a sense. Like, literally both of them are just like, huh, well, how about that? It's like, it's a huge plot point.
Detective stories are hard to write, but at least if you're going to do it, make sure you can do it. God damn it.
It's like we'll get into it more later, I promise. In confession, Sandra lies and tells Mikhail that Phil killed the entire Happytime gang, so that as the only living spouse, Sandra would get the $10 million. Which, if you remember, a long, long time ago, that was the plot that sent all of this in motion. Which, by the way, I'm realizing now that I have thrown a lot of names at you, and it must be impossible to keep them all straight, so I apologize.
I don't even know who's a puppet.
There's a lot of... there's only two puppets left. It's Phil and Sandra. They're the only... Everyone else... in fact, I don't think the movie has any more puppets at this point. That's it, yeah. No, those are the only puppets left. There's like one more background throwaway puppet.
I wonder who got paid more, the puppets or the people?
I don't care. I just don't care. So, yeah, Sandra says that Phil killed the entire Happytime gang for the money. During the interrogation, we get a Sharon Stone Basic Instinct crossed legs scene.
We get puppet pussy?
We get to see Sandra's puppet vagine.
Jesus Christ.
And by puppet vagine, I mean long purple pubes.
Ah.
To which McCarthy points out that the purple carpet does not match the drapes.
Ho ho! That's a good zinger.
If you don't know the basic, Isaac, that's a plot point. And I wish I was kidding.
Oh, God. Her pubes are a plot point?
Her pubes are a plot point.
You know,
if you don't know the Basic Instinct scene, I mean, just search Basic Instinct Sharon Stone and you'll figure it out real quick.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I would venture so far as to say that pubes should never be a plot point.
You'd think that, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that.
Yeah, me too.
It's my hot take.
Sandra Puppet is even wearing the same dress as Sharon Stone, so it's...
okay.
I wish I lived in a world... I never saw Basic Instinct, I just know it exists. I wish I lived in a world where I didn't have so much pop culture information in my head that I got literally every reference that ever gets thrown at me, pretty much. Because I think about it sometimes, and it bewilders me how much stupid, worthless information is in my head when I can't remember things like people's birthdays. Why? I'm broken and wrong inside, and it's nobody's fault except mine and America's.
Well, memories are made during dreams, so your dreams are probably just horrifying.
Honestly, I have had some of the worst dreams of my life this past week. Like, my girlfriend spent about a week and a half with me here, and I don't know if it's related, but I had... the worst, and I didn't tell her this because I didn't want her to feel like she was in some way responsible. I had the literal worst nightmare of my life on my birthday.
Oh, Jesus.
It's so awful I don't even want to talk about it because it, like, deeply distresses me inside.
I've had a few nightmares that sit with me, and they can be rough, man. Some
of them have, man, I don't know why, but these past, like, couple of weeks have been bad. So, yeah, I guess that's how memories are made. And I belong in the noodle factory indeed. All right, so Lieutenant Stanley has Phil locked up for the murders since the evidence is overwhelming. McCarthy gets suspended for attacking Mikhail, who insults her for her puppet liver. On the way out, McCarthy has a bunch of unfunny exchanges with her coworkers, including telling one guy she should have fucked him, and he said, "You still can." And that was almost funny. It was almost the funniest thing McCarthy was involved in. It wasn't even her line. When McCarthy gets home, Bubbles is waiting there for her. She tells McCarthy they have to rescue Phil before he, quote, gets his stuffing pulled out, replaced with rice pilaf, And then the criminals fuck the pilaf. What's it called, Isaac?
Puppet?
Pilafing. It's called pilafing.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Anywho, Bubbles points out that she looked into Sandra White, but Sandra didn't exist until a year ago. Bubbles' comedic timing and delivery is great, so this is like a nice treat, because it's the only time McCarthy's ever tolerable, is when Maya Rudolph is dragging her across the finish line. God bless you, Maya. The two of them go and investigate Sandra's shitty apartment, and Bubbles found out about through her snooping. They break in. Bubbles apparently is a master lockpictress, blah, blah, blah. Inside, nothing exciting here. Eventually they discover there's a hidden room containing all the evidence they need to put Sandra away. As they're combing through it, I keep fucking up combing, they discover that, gasp, Sandra is the daughter of the man who Phil accidentally shot when he was trying to save McCarthy's life. They figured this out because they find a picture of the dad, the daughter. The daughter has purple hair. Sandra has purple pubes.
Oh my god.
Bubbles says that purple hair is very rare on a puppet.
Oh my god. That's how they solve the crime.
We get a flashback to the Basic Instinct leg cross just so they can show the purple pubes again.
Purple pubes are a plot point.
Purple pubes were a plot point.
Oh, it reminds me of my favorite kids book, Harold and the Purple Pubes. It was about puberty and, oh, God.
Is puberty and pubes related?
I think so. I mean, you don't get your pubes until puberty.
I realized when I asked the question, I don't want the answer. And by the way, Bubbles accidentally sets off a trap that burns the whole apartment down.
Jesus Christ.
So, yeah, they had no evidence anymore.
God damn it.
McCarthy comes to visit Phil in jail and reveals the setup. She says they have to bust him out in order to go after Sandra. Her great plan is to shoot him in the arm. As he's being rushed to the ambulance in a hospital... Wait. Hold on. Let me try that again. As he's being rushed to the hospital in an ambulance... God damn it. Oh, fuck. McCarthy chloroforms the EMTs and steals it to go stop Sandra from getting on a private plane and fleeing the country. On the way, they fucking wrap up Phil's arms in gauze, which is meant to stop bleeding. But he's made of fluff in children's dreams. The EMT even complains how it's a waste. Then don't do it! Christ! Anyway, when they get to the airport, Phil handcuffs McCarthy to the steering wheel so as not to get her involved in anything further. He goes inside to confront Sandra. As Phil asks why she did it, she admits that she started for revenge and wanted him to suffer. However, she realized that she loved killing and was super duper good at it. That part is at least true, as she has, I realized, gotten away with literally every single thing so far without being slowed or molested in any way. Her plan actually went flawlessly.
It's the purple pubes. Gives you powers.
You're just going to really keep bringing up the pubes, huh?
I'm going to dye my pubes purple and see if my life gets better.
Yeah, I definitely can't wait to hear how your wife is after that particular fucking...
Yeah, well, she'll be doing the hard work.
There's just so many ways to go off of that. It's like you planted a tree that blossomed immediately into 1,000 joke branches.
Yeah, and instead of leaves, it has purple pubes.
You're a bad person.
I am. I know.
I'm not even mad. I'm just sad that you're so bad.
I'm worse than Hitler. Yeah. I mean, if Anne Frank had to, pick one of us to have never be born, I'm pretty sure she'd go with me.
This is terrible. We're going to get Me Too in 2022. I just know it.
No,
that's not
Is there
the
a big
right
Anne Frank crowd these days? She's not on Twitter, is she? Does she have a Snapchat?
I don't know. I feel like that's an SNL sketch. You can't get away with that. This is terrible. Why are we doing this? Up until this exact moment, Sandra got away clean with literally every step of her plan. And it's also revealed that, gasp again, token human woman is still alive. Who but a brilliant, fat, balding white man such as myself ever predict that non-twist? Turns out, unsurprisingly, as per my rant earlier at the police station, that Token, blah, 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 and Sandra have been in cahoots this whole time. Token human woman has a gun on Phil and makes Phil give up his gun. Phil tries to explain to her what's going on, but Sandra orders her to shoot him. She waffles and says there's no point in shooting him, so Sandra clocks her over the head, and she's literally out of the movie forever. Jesus. That was pointless. She just hits her with. She doesn't kill her. She just hits her with a briefcase and knocks her out. Why even bother? Just let her be dead.
Right?
This was nothing.
They wanted another twist, a little spice.
Well, we're gonna talk about it. So she has goons come in who attempt to take Phil out to a jet engine to throw him in, but he is saved at the last minute by McCarthy, who has broken off the steering wheel to come to his rescue. She beats up the 4 goons and saves Phil, and the 2 of them head after Sandra, who is escaping into her private jet. McCarthy goes in first, while Phil lags behind on a bum ankle or something, I don't know. Sandra gets the drop on on McCarthy, and has a gun to McCarthy's head. Now faced with the same scenario from so many years ago, Phil flashes back through the entire movie before managing to take the shot and blow Sandra's head off, saving McCarthy.
Yay.
Blah, blah, blah. Let's wrap this up. Phil asks Bubbles out on a proper date. He gets reinstated into the police force by Lieutenant Stanley, and the Phillips Act, which forbade puppet cops, is repealed. I can't speak. Phil and McCarthy are partners again, and they have one more encounter with douchebag Joel McHale before finally drifting me off into a better life where I don't have to think about this movie anymore. We do finish off with an I Want Candy music video with a big chunk of the puppets from the movie, while we get the absolute, no joke, best part of this movie happens during the credits, where we get to see the puppeteering work, which is super interesting. Like I said, the puppet work is fucking off the chain, and like this, it's really cool and neat to see the behind the scenes of the puppet stuff and how they make it work.
I wonder if that sentence has ever been uttered. The puppet work is off the chain.
Probably not. I'm laying claim to that one. Well, this was a pile of shit. The story was insanely cookie cutter. The characters aren't at all interesting working together in any way. Nobody has any real chemistry. The only point of 2 characters together being amusing in any way was any scene that has Bubbles in it, and that's just due to Maya Rudolph being a fucking boss. Like, Phil is mildly entertaining, but that's only because he's fulfilling the detective stereotype, which I admit to liking. He's nothing special, and none of his interactions are good, really. He and McCarthy stink it up together. They're terrible. It's just, I had the same problem with Coffee and Kareem, where
just no chemistry.
They were a bad partnership. And, like, the problem, at least with that, I can't believe I'm saying at least in Coffee and Kareem. At least with that, like, Coffee and Juice were something. Like, I enjoyed their back and forth. This is, like, nothing. Nothing at all. The twists are dumb. The plot is all over the place. Like, I need to talk about it. Let's take a minute to talk about the whole thing with Goofer to illustrate what I'm talking about. So, McCarthy's at this fucking flop house with Goofer's trying to suck her dick. There's a sentence nobody said either. And he like cryptically says something about the wife, and she writes it down like it's a fucking clue. And yeah, you know what? It technically is a clue, because I guess the wife of token human woman was Sandra. Where did Goofer learn that? They never touch on it. It's like, they don't say, like, that's what Goofer was talking about. It's just, they throw it out there. They slap a dick down on a table, and then leave, and never come back for it. And that is one of about half a dozen times that the plot stuff just got brushed by. This movie's always bouncing along to the next thing without ever satisfyingly wrapping up the last thing. And the further it goes on, the more and more cracks appear from this. Like, a second watching really showed me how bad that was. And when I was paying closer attention to write down notes, like, so much stuff that's plot-related stuff just gets gobbed out of McCarthy's mouth or Phil's fucking puppet hole. It just happens, and, like, nobody was paying attention if it fit the script at all. And McCarthy. Holy shit. She did not say a single funny thing in this entire goddamn movie. And if she really is a good actress, I'm willing to believe that she is, just because she's won enough awards that, I mean, I know I'm the smartest human being on the planet, says the man who hates himself. But, God, it can't all be bad, can it?
I haven't seen enough of her stuff, but I'm very curious for you to watch something of hers.
She was atrocious. It was nowhere to lie. In all the movies I have watched for Bowels of Netflix, of everyone trying to be funny, she flopped the hardest.
Damn.
Like, I don't know if it's just her shtick or her bit or her delivery or the fact that she was working with a fucking bunch of puppets and Stanley, but god damn, did she suck.
I'm very curious if you just hate her or if this performance really was that bad.
This was a bad one to start on. Like, I may have felt differently if I knew, like, I've never seen her in anything else. Like, what she was in Mike and Molly, which is a show I have zero interest in.
She was in Lady Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah, that fucking tanked.
Yeah,
I never saw it, and I don't really
I saw half of it, and it was entertaining. It was like a 4 or 5. Like, it was all right, but like it's just a remake that didn't need to happen. And I don't know. Ryan Gosling was the best part of that. I think it was Ryan Gosling or Chris Hemsworth.
No, Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, okay. He was good in that.
Yeah. The biggest problem in this whole movie, is wasted potential. Obviously, the whole raunchy puppet comedy thing isn't new, and the problem is, it's not like it's that novel an idea. Like I mentioned before, Team America World Police, a movie which, in fairness, I've never seen, but looks incredibly dumb, if you ask me, is similar in tone, with puppets that fuck and say shit things like shit and ass and balls, etc. The biggest problem with this picture is that they didn't, learn anything from that. They approached the concept of the raunchy puppet comedy as if they were the first people to ever think of that idea. And they're so not. Like, when I look at this on paper, I think this idea has some kind of legs. I may be a little puppet biased, but I truly think there's, something to the overall concept. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's 10 minutes on Saturday Night Live. That could be it. Like, you can do some stuff with it.
Yeah.
But it's not... That's what makes this such a letdown. It wasn't anything special. It was edgy in a way that's not enough just because it's puppets. Like, a blue man made of foam and felt come in a bunch isn't enough to carry a movie. Like, you gotta do more. Like, we're beyond... We've crossed the event horizon of just because it's a puppet doesn't mean you're the funniest thing ever. Like, yeah, puppets can say dickhole. Like, that's the thing now. You can't don't just start with that as square one and be like, boom, movie done. I wrote it. It's over. This puppet says dickhole. There's a movie.
Yeah, you need an actual movie.
Like, having fucking Phil trying to carry this whole movie with comedy fugitive Melissa McCarthy is a terrible way to be introduced to her career. I can't get over that. But, I think it had potential to be way more than it was. Like, maybe not even better. It had potential to be more than it was.
Yeah.
And they didn't put a single ounce of risk into it anyway. What they thought was risk was not nearly enough to make this even remotely watchable. To be fair, I have no idea how you make a good puppet movie like this. Like, I enjoy the Muppets for the Muppets. Kermit, Piggy, everyone but Fozzie, they're great. Like, solid established characters you can turn on. Like, when I turn on the fucking Muppet Treasure Island or whatever, Kermit's gonna be Kermit. And that works because Kermit's funny. Like, that is fine. But, like, trying to turn this new group of untested puppets into something, it's a tall order. I'll grant you. It's not gonna be easy. And just, throwing all your fucking detective novels into a script-making machine and then cramming puppets into it is not the way to do it. And maybe it's the proof that you can't do it. I don't know if the concept is dead on arrival, but they had to try way, way harder than this.
I think, and I'm kind of talking to my ass because I've never seen this, and to be fair, it's CG instead of puppet, but I think a similar kind of movie that a lot of people have said good things about is Ted, the Seth MacFarlane movie with the teddy bear.
Now, see, I saw Ted, and I thought it sucked.
Oh, well, yeah, you do hate everything. I've heard people...
I do hate everything.
Who generally like it, or, it's not the best thing in the world, but for what it is, it worked. Would you say Ted is better than this?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
But despite let me finish up here. We can talk about that. Despite this not being the worst thing I've watched for Bowels by a large, and I mean large, stretch, I gotta give this a 1 out of 10. Damn. It was slow, boring, bad, and just a fucking bummer to watch. Jesus. I just wanted it to be over. Like, as a Muppet fan, I expected better than this. Like, I expected almost passable. Like, I expected a close to a 4, but this is just yikes.
I feel like
a real shame and a real waste of my goddamn fucking time.
You're clouded by your Muppet love.
I think that definitely played a part. I think I was trying to I was trying to get blood from a stone with this. And I think that's why, because it's probably like this. The production quality was fine. The puppeteering was, like I said, off the chain. Like it's perfect. It's absolutely flawless. And like maybe that's it. Maybe this concept just doesn't work. Like maybe that's what it is. I don't know. And like this was just such a bad way to do it. God damn. And
yeah,
I don't know if it was just McCarthy. I don't know, if there was. I don't think. I think it might be just nothing. I think you just don't do it. I think that's it, man.
I can't see a puppet movie being a thing like this.
No, I think you can do Muppet movies to the end of time, because if people who Jim Henson, I mean, he puppeted and voiced Rolf. I'm pretty sure, for example, and others, but like that's the Muppet I know off the top of my head he did, and they replaced him when he died. Like, can be the characters, because they're fucking basically cartoon characters, can live forever. Mm-hmm. So you can do Muppet movies forever, but like this is just awful. God, it was so awful.
Well, I'm glad you suffered, Larry.
I did.
It always makes my day.
It was just, this was so long and boring. I just wanted it to be over so fast, and it never ended. It's still going, I think.
You just have it playing on repeat.
No, I don't. In my brain, maybe.
Don't lie. God, you loved it.
No, I hate it. My voice is so sharp and screaming.
Well, I did good this week. I gave you a stinker.
You did really good.
Make sure to stay tuned next week, too, because I'm covering Doom Annihilation. I didn't realize, because the original Doom movie came out in 2005, Doom Annihilation's from 2019.
Yeah, that's why I picked it, because we had a little streak going of sequels that came like 15 years later.
I'm halfway through it now. It's pretty bland.
Are they related in any way you can tell?
It's Doom. They're on Phobos, and there's monsters.
How big is Phobos? Is like the size of a Walmart, you said, right?
No, it's a little bigger. I was actually looking at the Wikipedia page. It's like 15 miles long, 10 miles wide, something like that.
That's like a super Walmart where I'm from, right?
Well, it's small for a moon.
Okay.
I don't know how gravity would work. I don't know if you could just if you could stand on it, or you would just you took a step and you would just go flying.
How should I fucking know?
I don't know. But the movie's bad, and it's only going to get worse. They're going to hell. I'm going to hell. We're all going to hell.
I can't wait to hear you talk about it.
God.
It's probably a bad sign that for Val's and Netflix, 2021 is going to start with... Well, no, I guess not starting with this. For us, our first recording of the year is a movie called literally Doom.
The coming of hell from outer space to Earth. God, yeah.
Top 2020.
We are the Vals of Netflix. We love you so much. Make sure to rate and subscribe. Facebook, Twitter. We're the only Vals of Netflix in your life. Don't try to have another. We'll find out, and we'll beat you. We'll beat it. It's going to be bad. Email us, balsandnetflix@gmail.com. Tell your friends. Tell your grandma. Hide her medicine. You know the drill. And stay tuned for next Sunday. We will be back with Doom Annihilation. Any final thoughts, Larry?
No. Let's never do puppets again, please. Come back to monkeys.
Yeah, well, okay. There
might be monkeys in clothes.
There's a monkey one in the chamber for you.
You put a monkey in a suit, I'm there. I'm sold. I'm on. I want to know what he's about.
Pretty sure he's got a bow tie. Is that enough?
You can kind of work with that.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
You got a monkey one for me? Fuck.
In the chamber. We'll see.
Shit.
You gotta see if I'm pulling the trigger on it or not.
Oh, man.
I can get a monkey in New Jersey. I just need a permit.
I can forge you a monkey permit in like 20 minutes.
Trying to convince my wife it would be a net gain for our household.
Oh my god. Well, first of all, that is a blatant lie. Second of all, please, Lord, please get a monkey. I want this show to have a monkey.
If you put it in a tuxedo, it will just do chores, right? That's how that works?
Yes,
yeah, okay,
that's
good.
How it works.
Exactly, yeah. I don't like laundry.
Laundry is the only chore that I universally hate.
Yeah. If I get a little monkey, I could rent the monkey out to you on Sundays for a blowjob.
I think I knew it. And I know where I was going.
The question is, who's getting blown? Me or the monkey?
The monkey.
Yeah, that's right.
To the pals of Netflix.
We love you.
Smell you later. Except you can't if you're a fucking puppet.